Okay, let's dive into something I know frustrates a lot of people learning English.
Yeah.
Maybe you too. You know that feeling. You're listening, maybe it's a movie, a song, talking to a native speaker,
Mm.
and you hit this wall. You know the words. Like, if you saw them written down, totally fine. But actually catching what they're saying, it just feels impossible sometimes.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't even sound like separate words, does it? It just sounds like this one long continuous sound, a blur, no breaks, no gaps.
Exactly. That linguistic blur, that's the perfect description. And if that sounds familiar, if you've ever thought, why is everyone speaking so unbelievably fast?
Hmm.
Seriously, you are not alone. This is probably the most common hurdle.
It really is. And the crucial thing to get right off the bat is that it's usually not because your vocabulary is too small or your grammar isn't good enough. That's not the real issue most of the time.
Right. So what is it then?
Well, it's because native speakers, when we talk naturally, especially, casually or quickly, we just don't pronounce words the way they look on paper or the way they're pronounced slowly in a language lab. The sounds change a lot.
That's the crux of it, isn't it? We connect words, we shorten sounds, sometimes sounds disappear altogether. And the rhythm, the whole music of the language is just different from that careful word-by-word style you find in textbooks.
Exactly. And there's this mismatch, you see. A lot of English learning, quite rightly, focuses on reading, writing, grammar rules, the visual stuff.
Which is essential, obviously.
Absolutely essential. But it doesn't always specifically train your ear for how English sounds when it's flowing naturally, when it's, well, messy and real.
So your brain is kind of expecting one thing, the written form, but it's hearing something quite different, especially at speed. And that difference just registers as fast and confusing.
Precisely. It's overwhelming.
But, and this is the really important part, the thing we really dug into in the materials for this deep dive, there's definitely hope. You can train your ear for this. It's a skill.
It absolutely is. It's about learning to recognize the patterns in that messiness. And that's what we're going to unpack today. We've looked at sources that explain exactly why this happens and, more importantly, lay out some really powerful practical strategies.
Yeah, things you can actually do.
Right. Ways to help you start hearing those connections, spotting those shortened words, and just generally feeling more confident when you listen.
Okay, so over the next little while, we're going to break down 4 key things. First, why native speakers stick words together. It's not random.
Connected speech.
Second, we'll look at those really common shortcuts, reductions, contractions that change how words sound.
The wanna, gonna, gotta stuff.
Exactly. Third, a big one, realizing you don't actually need to catch every single word.
Focusing on the important bits.
And finally, a really hands-on technique, something called shadowing, to actively train your ears for this natural speed.
And honestly, once you start noticing these things, it's like adjusting the focus on a camera. That blur starts to sharpen. English genuinely begins to sound slower, clearer.
Less like that overwhelming wall of sound. Okay, I'm ready. Let's jump in. Where do we start? What's that first big foundational idea?
Okay, the absolute fundamental thing is this. Natural spoken English isn't word. Pause. Word. Pause that word. It's not like typing with spaces.
Right. The spaces we see when we read aren't really there where we listen.
Not in the same way, no. Think about it physically. When we speak, our mouths are just trying to get from one sound to the next as efficiently as possible. We don't stop the airflow completely between every word.
Ah, so it's about smoothness, efficiency.
Exactly. The end sound of one word naturally flows into and sometimes even changes the beginning sound of the next word. They link up. They connect.
Okay, that makes intuitive sense. Less effort for the speaker.
Definitely. But for you, the listener, especially if you're expecting those clear breaks you see in writing, it can be really disorienting. This connection, this connected speech, is probably the single biggest reason why spoken English sounds so different from written English.
Give us a classic example, something from the material that really shows this transformation.
Okay, a really common one. The question, what do you want to do? 5 simple words on the page.
Looks straightforward enough.
Yeah. But when was the last time you heard a native speaker, in a relaxed conversation, actually say, what do you want to do?
Almost never, right?
Almost never. What you'll hear, 9 times out of 10, is something much smoother, much more connected, like, what do you want to do?
Wow, okay. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
That's a huge difference from what do you want to do? Let's break that down. How does what do you become Whaddaya?
It's a combination of things happening quickly. The test sound at the end of what often changes to more of the I'd sound when it's followed by a vowel sound, like in do. Then the sound links with the Y sound in you, and that D plus U sound often merges into a J sound, like in judge. So what do you compresses into Whaddaya. It's faster, less tongue movement.
Whaddaya. Got it.
Huh.
And want to becoming wanna.
That's another super common one. The T at the end of want often gets dropped entirely before the T in to, and the vowel sound in to weakens, becomes unstressed. It's not a clear U sound, more like a schwa. So want to smooths out into wanna.
Wanna. So what do you want to do instead of what do you want to do? It's not just faster. The actual sounds are different because of how they connect.
Precisely. And this isn't some rare exception. This linking and changing happens constantly. The material highlighted a few other really common examples.
Like what?
Okay, take did you. If someone asks quickly, did you eat? It almost always comes out as did ye eat.
That D, you making a J sound again. Didja.
Exactly the same mechanism as in Whaddaya, did you eat? Very, very common.
Okay, yeah, I can hear that one clearly now you pointed out. What about something like, I don't know, everyone says that all the time.
Oh, perfect example. That one shows both linking and sound reduction, which we'll talk more about next. But you very rarely hear a clear tet sound at the end of don't in casual speech.
Right, it kind of disappears.
It often disappears completely, or it becomes what linguists call a glottal stop, like a little catch in your throat.
Yeah.
And the vowel sound in don't might weaken too. So the whole phrase collapses into something like, I don't know.
I don't know. Okay. The T is gone, the vowel is different.
And don't flows straight into no. I don't know. So if you're listening for that crisp don't, you'll miss it. Your brain is searching for a sound pattern that just isn't there.
That explains so much frustration.
Yeah.
You're waiting for the T and it never arrives.
Exactly. One more great one from the source. I am going to go. First, nobody really says I am. We use the contraction I'm.
Right, I'm.
But then going to undergoes a massive change. It almost universally becomes gonna in informal speech.
Gonna. Yeah, hear that everywhere.
So the whole thing becomes I'm gonna go. Feels like one smooth unit to say I'm gonna go, miles away from I'm going to go.
This is really illuminating. It's not just speed. It's the fundamental way sounds merge and change when they bump up against each other.
Yes. And the key takeaway here is, this isn't sloppy speech. It's not lazy. It's just how natural, fluent English works. It's efficient.
So the goal isn't to wish people spoke differently, but to train our ears to recognize these common connections.
Exactly. Start listening for them. When you hear Whaddaya, recognize it as what do you. When you hear didja, know it's did you. When you hear Dunno, connect it to don't know. When these patterns become familiar.
The fast speech starts to sound less like a random rush and more like, well, language you can understand.
Precisely. It starts to break down into meaningful chunks, which leads us perfectly into the next strategy. Getting familiar with those specific reductions and contractions.
Right, because connected speech is about how words flow together, but reductions are about sounds changing or disappearing within the words themselves, or words shortening.
Exactly. They often happen together, of course, but focusing on common reductions is another huge piece of the puzzle. This further explains why spoken English sounds so different from written English and why it can feel so fast.
Okay, let's drill down into some of the most common ones the materials pointed out. You already mentioned wanna, gonna, and gotta. Those seem like the big three.
They really are. They're everywhere in informal conversation. Just to recap, want to becomes wanna, like I want to leave now. Going to becomes gonna, usually for future plans. It's gonna rain later.
Gonna.
Right. And gotta, which usually means have to or must, becomes gotta, like you gotta see this movie.
Gotta. Okay. And you're saying these aren't just slang. They're standard in informal spoken English.
Absolutely standard.
Right.
Across accents, across regions, if you're aiming to understand everyday conversation, movies, TV shows, you gotta, wanna, gonna, gotta.
Huh. Nice one. Okay, so those are key. What others do the source material highlight?
Well, we already hit, I don't know, become, I don't know. That pattern of dropping the T and weakening the vowel in don't is super common.
Dunno, yeah.
Then think about phrases like offering help or making requests. These are hot spots for reductions. Instead of the full, clear, let me help you, you'll almost always hear, let me help ya, or even just, let me help.
So let me squish it
Yeah,
together.
the T often drops, the vowel in me weakens, let me. And notice you often reduces to ya at the end of sentences too. Let me help you.
Let me help you. Okay, I can totally hear that now. Smoother and faster than let me help you.
Definitely. And asking for something, give me, that nearly always becomes gimme.
Gimme.
Yep, give me a break. Give me that pen. The vowel sound in give might weaken a bit. The V sound sort of merges into the M. Gimme.
Wow. Chalemi.
Yeah.
It really highlights why just listening word by word based on the spelling is so problematic.
Exactly. That's the core issue. Your brain is trying to match the incoming sound stream to the patterns it knows from reading. It's expecting let me, but it hears lemme. Mismatch. Confusion, delay in processing. It feels fast because your brain is scrambling.
But if you know to expect Lemmy, if you've trained your ear to recognize that sound pattern as Lemmy,
Then there's no delay. Your brain hears lemme and instantly decodes it as let me. Same for gimme, wanna, gonna, dunno. Learning these common reduced forms makes listening way less effortful.
so the advice from the source is basically become a detective. Actively listen for these reductions in real conversations, in media, make a mental note, or even a physical list.
Conscious awareness is the first step. The more you consciously notice let me and connect it to let me, the more automatic that recognition becomes. You're tuning your ear to the real sounds of English.
Okay, so we've got words connecting and we've got words reducing or shortening. Now let's talk about something that might actually take some pressure off the listener.
Yes, this is a really important perspective shift. You don't need to catch every single word.
That sounds liberating, but how can you understand if you miss words?
Because in English, not all words carry the same weight. Native speakers naturally put more emphasis, more stress on the words that carry the core meaning of the sentence.
The important words, basically.
Exactly. Linguists often call them content words. These are usually the nouns, the main verbs, not the little helper verbs, the adjectives, the adverbs. They carry the key information.
Okay, content words get the stress. What about the other words?
The smaller words like articles, a, and the prepositions in, on, at, for, conjunctions, and but, or, and those auxiliary or helping verbs, is, are, do, have, can, will. When they're not the main verb, these are often called function words. They provide the grammatical structure, but less of the core meaning.
And these function words, they tend to be unstressed.
Very often, yes. They're said more quickly, often with reduced vowel sounds. Remember, wanna, gonna, lemme. Those reductions are happening to function words or combinations involving them.
Ah, okay. So the unstressed function words are often where the connecting and reducing happens, making them harder to catch distinctly.
Right, they can kind of blur together. But the stressed content words tend to stand out more clearly. They're often louder, maybe slightly longer, sometimes higher in pitch. They act like anchors for the meaning.
So even if the little words in between are a bit fuzzy, your brain can grab onto those stressed anchors.
That's the idea. Your brain is surprisingly good at filling in the gaps if it catches the main information points. The material gave a great example. Listen to the sentence and pay attention to which words seem to carry the emphasis. I was thinking about calling you yesterday.
Okay, listening, thinking, calling. Yesterday. Yeah, those definitely pop out. You feel much weaker faster.
Exactly. Thinking, calling, yesterday are the stressed content words. Now imagine you only clearly heard those three words. Thinking, calling, yesterday.
You'd still get the main idea, wouldn't you? That the speaker considered making a call the day before.
Pretty much. You didn't need to perfectly parse I was or about or you to understand the core message. Your brain focuses on the stressed information. Let's try the second example from the source. Listen for the stress. She's probably going to be late for the meeting.
Okay, probably. Late meeting. Those jump out again.
Right, she's gonna be, for the all unstressed, quicker. And notice gonna is one of our reductions. But the key information is clear. Probably late meeting.
So you understand the main point, her expected lateness for the meeting.
Exactly. The stressed words deliver the goods.
This is actually a huge shift in how to approach listening. It means you're not trying to catch 100% of the sounds perfectly, which is almost impossible anyway. You're listening for the stress, trying to lock onto those main meaning-bearing words.
It's much more efficient, and frankly, it's how we process information in our native languages, too. We don't consciously register every single tiny word. We filter for the important stuff. The skill is applying that natural filtering ability more consciously when listening to English.
Listen for the rhythm, listen for the emphasis.
Combine that with recognizing the common connections and reductions we talked about, and suddenly understanding fast speech feels much more manageable.
Okay, this all makes theoretical sense. But how do we actually practice this? How do we actively train our ears and brains to do this better?
Well, that brings us to the final, really practical strategy from the material, a technique called shadowing.
Shadowing. Okay, what is that exactly?
It's pretty much what it sounds like. You listen to a native speaker and you try to speak along with them, imitating them as closely as possible, like you're their shadow, either speaking at the exact same time or just a fraction of a second behind.
Okay. That sounds challenging, like trying to sing along perfectly to a song you barely know.
It can definitely feel like that, especially at first. But the reason it's so powerful, according to the sources we looked at, is that it forces your brain to process the English audio input in real time at natural speed.
So it's not passive listening anymore.
Not at all. You have to actively listen to catch the sounds, the rhythm, the intonation, and simultaneously try to reproduce it with your own mouth. It connects the listening and speaking processes directly. You start to internalize the flow, the connections, the reductions, the stress patterns because you're physically trying to do them.
So it trains your ear and your mouth to handle natural speed and sound patterns.
Exactly. It helps you recognize those patterns when you hear them because you've practiced producing them.
Okay, I'm sold on the why. How do you actually do shadowing effectively? What are the steps?
The material lays it out quite simply. Step 1, find a short audio clip. And short is key, especially when starting, maybe just 1 or 2 minutes.
1 or 2 minutes, what kind of audio?
Real, natural spoken English, not someone reading slowly and artificially clearly. Think clips from interviews, casual YouTube videos, podcasts like this one, movie scenes, anything where people are talking fairly naturally.
Okay, short clip, natural speech. Got it. Step 2.
Step 2, just listen to it once, normally. Don't try to shadow yet, and maybe even avoid subtitles the first time if you can. Just listen to understand the overall topic, the main idea. Get the gist.
Okay, listen for general meaning first. Makes sense. Then,
Step 3, now you shadow. Play the clip again. This time, speak along with the speaker. Try to start speaking almost exactly when they do or just a split second after. And this is important. Try to copy everything. Their speed, their rhythm, their pauses, their intonation, their pronunciation.
copy everything. Don't worry too much if you fall behind or miss words.
Exactly. Don't stop the audio. Just jump back in and keep trying to follow along as best you can. Perfection isn't the goal, especially at first. The effort is what matters.
Okay, that's step 3. You mentioned a crucial 4th step.
Yes. Step 4 is about focus. When you're shadowing, don't concentrate on pronouncing each word perfectly and separately, like you might in a speaking class. Instead, focus intensely on copying the flow and the sound. Listen for how those words connect. Notice the reductions. Hear the stress. You are trying to imitate the music of their speech, not just the individual notes.
Copy the sound and the flow, not just the dictionary pronunciation of each word. That ties everything together.
Precisely. You're training your ear and mouth for connected speech, reductions, and rhythm all at once. It might feel really awkward initially, but the sources emphasize consistency. Doing short shadowing sessions regularly, even just 5–10 minutes a day, is way more effective than one marathon session once a week.
That sounds really doable. Could we maybe try demonstrating this? Like use those examples we discussed earlier. Say it slowly, then naturally break it down, and give people listening a moment to actually try shadowing the natural version.
I think that's a great idea. It makes it much more concrete. Let's start with that first casual question. Remember, pronounce slowly and carefully. It's, hey, what are you doing this weekend?
But the natural connected version we talked about is, hey, what are you doing this weekend?
Right. And the breakdown again, what do you becomes whadda, and doing often sounds like doing.
Okay, so if you're listening now, get ready. We'll say the natural speed version one more time. Really listen to that flow, that connection. Then we'll pause for maybe 5 seconds, and you try to say it out loud, shadowing that sound. Ready?
Here's the natural speed. Hey, what are you doing this weekend?
Okay, your turn. Try shadowing it right now. Pause. 5–7 seconds. How did that feel? Maybe a bit rushed? Totally normal. Just trying is the key. Let's do the next one, asking for help.
Slow version. Can you help me with this?
Natural speed, super common. Can you help me with this?
The breakdown, can you reduces to canya, and help me often flows together, maybe like help me with a very soft P.
Okay, listen again to the natural flow and those little changes. Then get ready to shadow.
Natural speed, can you help me with this?
Your turn. Shadow it. Pause. 5–7 seconds.
Nice.
Feeling the rhythm a bit more. It's like muscle memory for your mouth and ears. Let's do one more example before the quick drill.
Expressing surprise. Slow. I didn't know that.
Natural speed, using that reduction we talked about. I
Yeah.
like that.
breakdown. Didn't know collapses into dunno, and know that links smoothly, often like know that.
Listen closely to that reduction and link. Ready to shadow.
Natural speed. I don't know that.
Go for it. Shadow. Pause. 5-7 seconds. Great effort. See
Yeah.
how different the natural speed sounds, but also how it has its own pattern. Okay, final quick drill from the source material. We'll say the sentence naturally, give the breakdown, then you shadow immediately.
Here's the sentence. Natural speed. What are you going to do later?
Breakdown, what do you do? What, gotta?
Gonna. Listen again, then shadow as fast as you can right after. What are you going to do later?
Shadow now. Pause. 5 to 7 seconds. Awesome. That's the essence of shadowing.
Yeah.
It feels active, maybe a bit intense, but it really forces you to engage with English as it's actually spoken. And like the source material kept stressing, doing this consistently is how you build that automatic recognition.
Yeah, this whole deep dive really brings it home, doesn't it? That feeling of English being too fast isn't necessarily about the speaker talking at lightning speed. It's often about our own ears not being tuned yet to the specific patterns of natural, connected, reduced speech.
Right. We might be listening for clear word boundaries that just aren't there, or for full vowel sounds that get weakened, or for sounds like T's and E's that get dropped or changed.
And we've covered the main reasons. Words link together for efficiency, connected speech. Sounds get shortened or dropped, reductions. Native speakers emphasize the key meaning words, stress. And you don't actually need to catch every single function word to understand.
Plus, we have a concrete way to practice recognizing and producing these patterns, shadowing.
And the payoff, the promise from the sources we explored, is significant. If you consistently work on this, noticing connections, learning reductions, listening for stress, practicing shadowing English will start to sound slower to you. That feeling of being overwhelmed by the speed will lessen.
You start to anticipate the patterns instead of being surprised by them.
Mm.
The conversation feels less like a struggle and more like something you can actually participate in.
And that leads perfectly to the final, really encouraging thought from the material we looked at. It's this idea. The more you practice recognizing these patterns and training your ear, the slower English will start to sound. Your brain will adapt.
That's so powerful, isn't it? It reframes the whole challenge. It's not about the world slowing down. It's about your brain speeding up its processing of these natural patterns. Your brain is this incredible pattern matching machine. And when you feed it enough examples of natural speech, when you actively engage with it through techniques like shadowing, you're essentially reprogramming it. You're teaching it the real rules of spoken English, not just the written ones. That one long sound starts to segment itself because your brain now recognizes the junctions, the common phrases, the stressed landmarks.
It stops being noise and starts becoming language again. It's about training your perception, your auditory processing, beyond just knowing grammar rules or vocabulary lists.
So the message is, keep listening actively, keep noticing, keep practicing shadowing. That seemingly impossible speed will start to feel manageable, even normal.
Absolutely. Your ear will catch up, and those fast conversations won't seem so fast anymore.